NASCAR says they are very close to landing a fifth manufacturer. Denny Hamlin says that he'll skip Mexico if his fiance hasn't had their third child yet. Plus, Formula One wants to go head-to-head with the Indy 500. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Shameless plug real quick, the Closing Laps podcast, the one that Cameron and I do. Cameron, former NASCAR pit crew member, he and I breaking down the weekend action after the races every Sunday, maybe Monday, depending on our schedules. I linked it in the description yesterday. I'll do it again today. Check it out. Give us your feedback. I know I'm going to change up some of the graphics and things like that, but overall, happy to see some people enjoyed it, and that's really all we're trying to do here. Getting into the topics of the day, NASCAR just landed their fourth manufacturer with Ram this past weekend, officially making it official, even though we all knew that this was going to happen basically since Daytona in February, but they made it official, so that's great. Now they say they are very close to landing a fifth manufacturer, and let's go ahead and stop everybody before they get to this point. They're going to be like, well, it's probably Dodge, right? Because Dodge and Ram are separate manufacturers. Listen, they're the same. They're under the same umbrella. They're the same company. We get it. They're separate entities. You're walking into the same dealer to buy a Ram or to buy a Dodge. They're the same thing. So we're going to classify them as the same thing as number 4. Now, number 5, NASCAR says they are very close to landing a fifth manufacturer. And I think we all probably know who this is going to be, because back at Daytona when the Ram thing got announced, I was talking to people in the garage area and they were like, actually surprised it wasn't Honda that was announced at that point. So fully expect that fifth manufacturer to be Honda. Now, of course, that is going to throw a wrench into basically everything we know about NASCAR, because if Honda comes in, they've said they are not interested in building V8 engines. So that means they're going to come in with a turbo V6. And yeah, if everybody else has naturally aspirated V8s, they want to run a turbo V6. Guess what NASCAR fans are going to get introduced to? Balance of performance, the dreaded 3 words from IMSA, and it's going to make some people really, really annoyed. So we'll wait and see if that's going to happen, but that, of course, is the rumor. And hey, you could run the Ridgeline, which pretends to be a truck, in the Truck Series. You could run the Civic in the Xfinity Series, and you could run the Accord in the NASCAR Cup Series. And honestly, I think Turn 4 Graphics is the one that put together all these mock-ups, and they look really good, right? Like, obviously, whoever ends up being that factory team for Honda is going to get a ton of resources. I mean, HRC is out of this world in terms of, just how much resource they can provide to their race teams. And they've won championships all around the world, IndyCar, Formula One. Now maybe they can come to NASCAR and get it done, if they are, in fact, that rumored fifth manufacturer that wants to come in. I know people are going to be really upset about the whole not building V8s thing here, but at the same time, NASCAR did run torque sensors last year in the Cup Series to basically gather information on the output of power from the V8 that they currently have now, and how they can make a turbo V6 or whatever other type of engine platform match that. And I'll also say, I bet that there's a good chance you'll see one of the 3 current manufacturers want to switch over to a turbo V6 at some point in the future as well, because Ford, and I've said this before, would absolutely love to say, hey, Joey Logano won the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series Championship in his EcoBoost Ford Mustang, because they pushed that EcoBoost so hard. Do we all love naturally aspirated V8s? Yes. Do we all want to see that continue on? Yes. I do not want to see V8s go away whatsoever, but I think the next evolution of NASCAR will be this. And I know it's going to upset some people for sure. The olds are going to come at me on Facebook 100% and be like, oh, there's no way we should ever. I get it. I get it here. But at the same time, if you have a manufacturer that wants to come in, spend millions of dollars, which also includes millions of dollars in advertisements as well, then maybe it's something that you take a look at and look for or towards for the future. So we'll see how that plays out. Some other people keep mentioning that Hyundai could potentially be in talks with NASCAR, or, maybe that rumored fifth manufacturer. They have built a V8 before. They currently don't build it anymore as well. I did completely forget about the whole Genesis line that Hyundai has, mainly because I think it's kind of dumb, but that's neither here nor there. My neighbor has one, and it seems like it's in the shop more than an Alpha is, or a Range Rover at this point. So I'm not really sure what's going on with the Genesis platform, but they do have that. They have started to slowly get into more motorsports around the world. They, of course, are entering into sports car racing with the GTP program as well. So, yeah, could it be? Sure. Does it really fit? I don't necessarily think so. But hey, crazier things have happened. Maybe we get Brian Herr Autosport to come over to the NASCAR Cup Series or Xfinity Series. Did Hyundai make a truck? Is it the Santa Fe? The Santa Fe, yeah, that truck's ugly. That thing's stone ugly. It's like if the Avalanche and the Ridgeline had a child and then hit it with the ugly stick. And you're like, dang, Santa Cruz. Yeah, Santa Cruz, not Santa Fe, Santa Cruz. Yeah, that's not a great looking truck at all. But hey, NASCAR apparently is very close to landing a fifth manufacturer, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if it changes the engine formula for the Cup Series or for all of NASCAR, I think that's when you're going to see some people get upset about it. Denny Hamlin says that he will miss the Mexico City race for the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend if his fiance, his partner, his future wife, Jordan, has not given birth to the third child yet. So Hamlin's been on baby watch for the last 2 weeks. Ryan Truex has been hanging out at Nashville. He was hanging out at Michigan last week, and Denny Hamlin keeps running races, winning races, and his fiance keeps not having a baby. And he says now he'll skip the Mexico race weekend if she hasn't had it by the time it's ready for him, or before the time has come for him to leave. And NASCAR Cup Series drivers, I believe, are leaving on Wednesday to fly down. So as Door Bumper Clear kind of talked about, NASCAR has chartered flights that will take off out of Charlotte International and fly to Mexico, and everybody's traveling down with that. Cup drivers will come back on Monday, or everybody will come back on Monday as well. So basically staying an extra night in Mexico City. I would assume if she has this kid on like Thursday or Friday, Denny Hamlin will hop a flight to Mexico City, because it's not like a forbidden land that you can't go through to. He'll just have to go through customs and everything else that goes along with that. But yeah, people are acting like, oh, he can't go to Mexico after he has a kid. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But he was on SiriusXM NASCAR on Tuesday, and he was talking about how he needs to be there for Jordan. And like, that's admirable, right? That's certainly a different type of Denny Hamlin that we've seen. I know there's going to be comments about their relationship and things like that. We're not getting into any of that here. We're happy for them. They're having a third kid. They're going to get married. Great for them. Happy for him. I will say that, like, Danielle Trotta tweeted out like the Denny Hamlin, quote of him saying that he would skip Mexico for the weekend if she hadn't had the kid yet. And there were a lot of doctors that are not actual doctors, just guys that have had kids in their life wanting to tell Danielle Trotta and I guess Denny Hamlin's fiance Jordan that she should have this kid by now. They need to induce her. Letting her run this long is just insane. Hey, listen, unless you have a PhD, why don't you just shut up? Because none of it matters. And nobody's taking medical advice from anybody on the internet. And hey, it's not really anybody else's place to comment either. Let them do whatever they want to do. So for Denny, if he does in fact miss the race, the replacement driver will be Ryan Truex. He is a replacement driver for Joe Gibbs Racing. He does a lot of sim work for them. I know. The internet's going to be like, put Corey Heim in that car. He's not racing this weekend. Guess what? Corey Heim's not going in that car. As we have continued to say, Corey Heim has a contract with 2311 Racing. Corey Heim, if he was going to be in a Joe Gibbs Racing Cup car, he would be in one by now. He would probably be in that 19 car. But that's not going to happen. It's not in the cards. It's not going to play out for him there. So it'll be Ryan Truex. And honestly, like, that'd be cool for Ryan Truex, not necessarily known as a road racer, but obviously getting a cup start in literally top tier race winning equipment is certainly something good to put on the resume. Keep yourself sharp, everything like that. But if Denny Hamlin does in fact miss Mexico for the birth of his child, he will receive a waiver for that. The birth of a child is listed as an acceptable reason to miss a race and, continue to carry your playoff points and get a waiver and all the other things that go along with that. Last topic of the day, moving into the open wheel space. The Indianapolis 500 is every Memorial Day weekend. It's on the calendar. You can set your watch to it. You know when it's going to happen. It's the Southern 500. It's on Labor Day. Guess what? Indianapolis 500 is on Memorial Day. And guess what? Formula One has decided to go head-to-head with IndyCar in 2026, putting the Canadian Grand Prix on at the same time as the Indianapolis 500. Now, it will start later in the day than what the Indy 500 does. Indy 500 will go green at 12:45 Eastern Time in 2026, assuming they stick with the same schedule they've had for the last number of years. The Canadian Grand Prix goes green, lights out, around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, they will be happening at the same exact time. And honestly, that's a shot from Formula One, if we're being completely honest here. And it's a shot at motorsport fans as well. Listen, at one point, another rival series to IndyCar tried to race at the same time as the Indianapolis 500. They called it the US 500, and it was an absolute disaster. A shit show, as they like to say, and it did not go over very well. And guess what race prevailed? The Indianapolis 500. Now, the people at 16th and Georgetown for IndyCar, for IMS, Doug Bowles, Roger Penske, honestly, they don't really have to be worried about it, at least not from a rating standpoint in the United States. 7.5 million people tuned in to watch the Indianapolis 500 this year on Fox. Listen, Formula One, their biggest TV audience in the United States, I think was like 3 million people at one point, and they're certainly not going to get that next year for the Canadian Grand Prix while the Indianapolis 500 is, running. Maybe people will tune in for the start of the Canadian Grand Prix, but you're not going to see them even come close to audience numbers. IndyCar will absolutely prevail for it. But like I said, this is a shot at motorsport fans in general because they decided to move Monaco off of that weekend, which they have their own reasons for, right? They don't want to go to Miami, to Monaco, to go back across the pond, to Canada. I get it, right? So you're going to go from Miami, week off, and then you'll go to Canada, Montreal from there. And then they'll go over to Europe and start the European stretch of races. I get it from a planning standpoint. I absolutely do. But at the same time, there is a week off between Miami and the Canadian Grand Prix, so you could run it that weekend. Well, what about the weather in Canada? I don't know. Don't live in Canada. Don't have a race in Canada. Don't be such a stickler for that race date if you're really that worried about it, or put it in the fall at this point, at the end of the summer. Who knows? I mean, we do. I was about to say we could run it. I mean, you do run COTA in October, so just run it at the beginning of October. It's a nice fall action, foliage up there in Montreal, Quebec. It might set the vibes, might set the scene a little bit more there. But now, instead of allowing fans to basically go from watching Monaco in the morning to IndyCar at noon to NASCAR at night, you're now forcing fans to have to, run the double TV, run the 2-box setup if you have YouTube TV or whatever else. And it's unfortunate because it means that your attention's going to be pulled off of it. Now, like 350,000 other people, I'll be in attendance at the Indianapolis 500 next year, and I won't be caring about what's happening in Canada. I'll catch it when I get home, but it sucks. It would be like college football putting their national championship on at the same time as the Super Bowl. And it's like, well, we know which one's going to get the more, the higher ratings. It's going to be the Super Bowl, the one that everybody's tuning in to watch. No offense to the Canadian Grand Prix. That's not a marquee race on the calendar for a lot of people other than like Lance Stroll and, maybe a few others. But for that, it is what it is. So yeah, interested to see how that plays out. Formula One did note that this would only happen once every 5 years where they would run head to head like this, which, hey, maybe they'll change their mind after they see what the ratings are for next year. Don't expect Europe to be tuning into the Indy 500 like America is, but in this country, I don't think IndyCar has anything to worry about. So let me know in the comments what you think about fifth manufacturer being very close. Denny Hamlin willing to skip Mexico for the birth of his child, as well as Formula One going head to head with the Indy 500. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.